Hello, everybody, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast episode 590. I am your host, John Van Derzen, once again without one Terry David Miller. He's still in Southeast Asia. I'm hoping that we'll get him next week to sit in and let us know how he's been doing the last couple of weeks. We'll talk about the Southeast Asia event coming up. Well, it just happened, but we'll talk about it a little bit later in the podcast about some of the results. But first and foremost, the big news this week, obviously, the Disc Golf Pro Tour bringing on a brand new, huge sponsor, something I was privy to I think a month and a half ago is when I first started hearing rumblings of this, because I was still in one or two of the little meetings. But I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything. And I was a good boy. I hinted at it on the podcast here that we were going to see a big sponsor come out. But we're going to talk about that in just a few seconds here with one Mr. Sean Jack. Hi, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's really good to be here, and It's funny that you mentioned that because when we were trying to keep the secret, I was like, I've talked about this lead before it was closed several times on several DGPT team calls where not everyone is an employee and there are contractors, and I'm like, I'd be shocked if it didn't get out there, and it didn't, which is so thank you very much for your discretion. I appreciate it.
Well, I've thankfully, there is a nice line that we've been able to walk for the last few years of being a contractor and knowing some of the insides, whether it's talking with, our good friend Gary the O or, Mahmood, or being in on a call. We know what we can and can't talk about for the most part. We haven't been burnt yet. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but at some point, but we've been pretty good so far. So,
well, especially when you're in the space of wanting to break news.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be even more challenging when you actually have an inside line. That's going to be tough, but thank you very much for keeping it true.
Yeah, it is tough because I'd love to just spill all the beans. I'd love to be the big gossip and everything, but I just can't. I just can't do it yet. So let's talk a little bit about this Powerball sponsor. How long has this been in the works? If I've heard about it for at least 2 months, and I know you've been on a few other podcasts and probably had similar conversations, but just kind of in general, when did this really become a real vision for you?
So this was a lead that was unearthed by our agency, Pivot. And the first call we had with Powerball and them was mid-April. So 8 months from start to finish, which is actually not that bad. Like, I've had longer sales cycles. Like Ella Bean, I think I've said before, took me 5 years to close from the first time we engaged with them until they became like the title sponsor of the World Championships in 2023. So honestly, I don't think it's that long. It was basically Powerball got representation in 45 states, so there's 45 decision makers that get to influence whether or not they do something. So Jay, who's the executive director of Powerball Oklahoma, is also like the lead on the marketing board. So he actually we empowered him to be our inside champion, to influence and hopefully tell our story to get this across the finish line. And that took a few months before we got to a yes, which happened in Q4. And then there was, a month or so of negotiation in the contract and redlining. And then we were signed, and I wanted to announce before the holidays, but it just didn't work out with our team. And there's a lot of work to do to update every version of our logo across social, the site, the network. I'm sure there's some spots that we probably have missed, but it's a lot. And honestly, getting both our teams ready to do moments like this.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are a lot of logos because I was peeking around and on the website, and it's all over the website now. It is, we saw logos for the tour standings, the cup, which I'll get to later, and the tour standings, the cup, and the playoffs as well.
Yep.
So it's it's a lot of work to get something like that together. Was there any advantage to waiting as long as you did? Or would you have clearly you would have liked to probably announce as soon as the ink's dry, just on the fact that, get it out there, let everybody kind of settle in. We all know that there's going to be some kickback from a small portion of people. It's the same people that probably complained about the sports gambling as well.
Mm-hmm.
But would you have rather had it done before or now?
I mean, in my selfish way, I would rather have been done before. So that way, when I was speaking with existing and new partners, I could talk about it, because it strengthens our position as a tour to have a presenting partner that's like that with an iconic name like that. Like, I was talking to Zenny, the eyewear partner,
right here.
earlier. Awesome, thank you. Earlier today, and they were thrilled.
Two of them. I got 2 sets here from Zenny.
Nice. They were thrilled with it because it just gives the tour a bit more panache, juice, right? And as a non-endemic brand, they want to be attached to the tour. And also, like, the Powerball name is going to get us more earned media, right? It'll attract more fans. We'll get more affiliates, more like local affiliates coming out to film before and during tournaments, which should stimulate ticket sales. It's just more and more. So I would have preferred it. However, I completely understand why marketing and communications wanted to take a bit more time to ensure that we had all the I's dotted and T's crossed. And it also was during the holidays, right? It was like this year, the way Christmas fell was like almost everyone kind of turned off for like more than 2 full weeks.
Yeah, being on a Thursday, as it was, it kind of felt like Wednesday and Thursday were done, or was it on Wednesday? Either way,
Thursday.
It was on Thursday. Yeah,
but pretty much like it was like
Friday off, and then you had like New Year's coming up in the middle. Just having it in the middle of the week always just. I mean, I guess it's great for some people, and they can just kind of zone out for 2 weeks. But not here. We keep going. We had podcasts every Tuesday night, right? The money. There is clearly this is a multi-year agreement, and I've listened to. Ooh, someone's revving or something.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Actually, I apologize. I'm actually outside in my
cool.
house. There's an atrium in the middle of my house, so like I'm surrounded by walls, but it's covered. And I live in San Francisco, which is a loud place. Although my neighborhood's quiet, and someone just revved their motorcycle driving by. So.
Well, probably quieter than Oakland. So,
significantly, I live like a mile from the beach. I'm in like a suburb of San Francisco.
Oh, lucky you. We'll talk maybe a little bit more about that in a little bit. But the money that is involved, this is said that it's the biggest sponsor that's ever come onto the tour. Is that number, and I know you're not going to divulge the number because nobody has said anything. Everybody's got guesses. I honestly, truly, like I said, I heard early about the actual sponsor, but I know nothing about the number. I don't know if that was ever talked about in the meetings, but I have to assume, is that the biggest sponsor on a year-to-year basis or just overall?
Yes.
Okay,
both.
so, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we never had first of all, I would never disclose a sponsorship amount from one partner to another out of respect for all parties, right? Sure. So it, and I understand like that people just want to know the number because it's fun and interesting. And it's just, we've disclosed it's a 2-year deal. We are hoping to secure a third year quickly by over delivering value. And as a single year deal and as a 2-year bundle, it is by far like the largest deal that the tour has ever done.
Well, I think maybe a lot like what we've said about contracts like Paul Macbeth's, Ricky Wysocki, Simon Lizotte. There is some legitimacy to having that number out there. Like that says we are worth, let's just say $1 million a year, whatever that is. Or like we can go to other sponsors and say, hey, if they're going to pay us $1 million a year, clearly you can pay us, $750 or 1.2.
Candidly, that was one of my angles. We talked about this a lot in that when the presser went out and we spent money to get the press release outside the disc golf ecosystem. So it landed in sports business journals and, hopefully key marketing decision makers, CMOs are looking at it and going like, oh, holy smokes, like Powerball, big organization is interested in disc golf. Maybe I should take a look. And if the value of the deal was listed, then maybe it could raise even more eyebrows.
Mhm.
But it just didn't work out between the two parties, and I'm okay with that. I think their name is good enough, and I really do hope that their notoriety, history will make more people pay attention because we have a really, really valuable fan base and audience.
I've heard a lot of people speculate on some of the activations we're going to see, whether, the
Mhm.
integrations. We're never going to see Powerball tickets sold at an event, are we?
I don't know
I
that.
just I can't imagine legally licensing who's selling that. Maybe if you had a gas station, because I mean, usually you get them at grocery stores and gas stations. That's like,
So I don't know, but I do know they do sell tickets remotely. Like I do know they pop
hmm,
up in stadiums and sell tickets.
oh,
But maybe that's like a permanent or semi-permanent brick and mortar location.
sure.
They have not asked if they could sell tickets at events, but I think we'd be open to it. Especially if the jackpot gets juicy, half a billion or $1 billion. But it's not something in the cards right now.
Okay. I mean, somebody brings it up on the board, and I don't know if it's really going to make a difference at all, but does the sponsor being Powerball and having to be over 18 to play affect any underage players on the tour? And I can't imagine it would.
No, that's a
it's
great
just a
question,
sponsor.
though. Yeah, that's a great question. Anyone that participates in the Powerball Ace, they have to be over 18 or 21, depending on the states. Although I'm unsure the states in which we're operating if that comes into play. But no, I've worked in sponsorships for a while, and typically, if you have a sponsorship that has a limit on age, it just has to have a certain percentage of the audience. Can't be over under certain. Like one time, I threw an event where PBR was a sponsor. We had like a corn dog festival, and I had to prove to them that it's a weird number, like 82.5% of attendees were over 21. Um, but no, Gannon can still play. I'm trying to think of the folks that are under 20, or they can still participate in the tour. There's no exclusions.
Okay, that's
But
fantastic.
interesting question.
That is an interesting question because, like you said, you talked about the ace throw as one of maybe
Mhm.
as well one of the activations that we're going to see. I've looked into briefly some of the other Powerball. Like the only other sport that Powerball has stepped up and started to sponsor is NASCAR. So
Yep.
we have. I guess I haven't looked at the demographics of disc golf in a long time, but we like to think we're a blue collar sport, like much like
Yep.
NASCAR. I don't know how
Mhm.
true or not that is. I
We
know that
are
you know.
80% between 25 and 45,
Mhm.
and we index middle to upper middle class is the
Yeah.
majority of the audience.
So is
Honestly,
that
I would guess our the Venn diagram between NASCAR, us, and maybe even the NFL are pretty overlapped.
sure?
Um, it's a similar audience, but
Mhm.
it's just way more affordable to target, right? Like I
Mhm.
imagine the NFL doesn't have conversations with partners outside of 8 figures, right? Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
and similar with NASCAR. We don't command those types of spends, but
Mhm.
it of if you want to target men between 25 and 45, middle to upper middle class, that index pretty well with like the trades. I don't know many
Yeah.
much better fit than us.
Oh yeah, you nailed it. I did look as far as Powerball demographics. What I could dig up was I think it said 58% of Powerball players are men in
Mhm.
general. It's close to 50-50, but skews a little bit towards the
I
men.
was actually surprised about that. Yeah, I would when what I've learned,
Mhm.
I thought they would be more men, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that 42% of their ticket buyers are women, but it could just be moms out there chasing a dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and most of the ticket buyers are, anywhere between $30,000 a year to $90,000 a year. That's kind of their bread and butter. It's a pretty big skew, but
Yeah,
I
that's
think that
middle to upper middle
fits.
class,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Depending on where you live, that's 100% where it is. So I think that the demographics really do favor this type of a relationship between the two companies. Has there been? We talked a little bit about the 5% kickback. Have you heard anything that you didn't think of ahead of time that you were like, oh, I guess I didn't really think of that that aspect of the sponsorship?
Are you talking about what when you say 5% kickback?
Oh, I'm sorry. That like we had talked earlier about 5% of the people who maybe wouldn't or have an
Oh,
issue
oh, okay.
with this type of sponsorship. I have to imagine
I
the
see.
Pro Tour kind of went through their due diligence and tried to
Yeah,
look at it from every aspect, as
yeah.
far as the positives and the negatives. Did you see anything out there that you were like, oh yeah, I guess we didn't really think of that, but you know,
Honestly, everything that I in my research I
Mhm.
found was the opposite, was positive.
Okay,
That,
good.
you know, more than half of your $2 ticket goes to support local good causes. Right here in California, that's almost entirely the school system. So my kid who goes to SF public schools, I buy a ticket. Somehow the money does trickle down to her. A lot of the good causes are very well aligned with disc golf. Nature Conservancy, national parks, things like that. Veterans causes, which we often, we know that veterans find us because we can really help with PTSD, people finding a new community. But no, there were nothing I uncovered gave me any cause to pause or made me skittish whatsoever.
Yeah, I know that the portion that goes back here in Wisconsin go, goes to the
Smashbox.
it goes all to Smashbox. Thankfully, actually goes to homeowners' tax base. It lowers our tax rate for homeowners, and
Oh, no
then
kidding.
yeah, which I believe they say is about 30 to 35% of the ticket sales go to. So anyone that buys a ticket, thank you for helping me lower my taxes for my
Yeah,
house, for
yeah.
for my my
I mean,
property.
they've donated
Appreciate that.
I think this is their 33rd year, maybe it's now 34th, like $38 billion. So over $1 billion a year in support goes out. Pretty remarkable.
Was there any talks with the PDGA about this? I know the PDGA in the past has had certain. They used to have restrictions on sponsors
They still
and
do.
and
There's
things
like
like
seven
that.
categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, not restrictions. It's just, I think there's 7 categories that you have to get approval from the board
Okay.
to work with at an Elite Series event or higher. Gambling, tobacco, I think liquor, like liquor specifically, spirits, not beer and wine or
Mhm.
cider, religious causes, special interest groups, weapons, things that make sense. Honestly, Doug and Jeff have a really good relationship, and I know Jeff was reading Doug in the entire process to make sure that they were aware of it.
Okay. So yeah, obviously
But
you didn't
no, no.
nothing
So
from
the
the
answer, but
PDGA.
yeah, this is we're good to go to have Powerball
Yeah.
sponsor the tour
Yeah.
and have their media, have their signage on site. Yeah, there's no restrictions on the category for us.
We know about the ace. There's going to be an ace throw off at every event. Is that correct? Walk us through how that
Yeah,
works
this
and
is
maybe how people are going to get picked versus, do we know that information yet?
we are still ironing out the details. However, as of right now, and this might change, we actually might expand it. Um, Anyone that has a ticket to go to a US based event, there's 15 this year, on Saturday, they can opt in to be in a drawing, and we will pick 5 lucky fans to come to hole one, hopefully hole one across the board, for a chance. So 5 lucky fans will come up on T1 in between MPO1 and MPO2. As you know, there's always like a 20-minute break built in between those two cards. So, and it's always usually the most hyped time of being on site, right? Because MPO2 just took off, and the 4 best players in the tournament on Saturday are there. Usually, it's already got a great vibe. So imagine now there's going to be even more people there, and I can't wait for it at my event because I have pretty large stage that acts as
Mhm.
whole T1. And so I just can't wait for someone to come up there. We'll hand them a Powerball branded disc that they get to keep. We'll put a basket out that's 150 to 200 feet. We want people to make it, right? Like this is not a 500-foot ace opportunity. And those 5 people will throw on camera on DGN. And if 2 people happen to hit it, they will split the pot, so they'll get $2,500 each, which I doubt will happen, although that would be remarkable. I mean, the chances, I mean, I've been playing now for almost 20 years. I have 30 aces, right? It's
Yeah.
probably like one of every 3,000 shots or something. But we want to make it hittable. And if no one hits it, the pot goes up to the next event. So if no one hits it by the tour championship, it should be at $20,000. And if no one hits at each event, someone will always get a $500 CTP prize, which is kind of cool. So like, I ask you, if you were fifth and the four people in front of you airmailed it and weren't even close, are you going for it? Or are you going to lay it up?
I have one disc. We're throwing the Powerball disc?
Yeah, so we talked about this earlier. My intention is to get 3 molds, a mid fairway driver, a mid putter, and a fairway driver available. Maybe a driver too.
Sure.
And you'll go to our pro shop, you'll pick your disc out, and you get to keep the disc. But yeah, do you walk away with the Easy 500 and throw it, and C1, or do you go for it?
I go for it. There's too much. It was kind of like the question Terry and I had a couple weeks ago. If you had the opportunity, I think, to win $1 million or take home $1 million or somehow win a world championship, a PDGA world championship, MPO, what do you take? And I told him I'd take the world championship.
I think the world champion, is it actually us at our age?
Yeah, you and me at our age right now. Somehow you have the weekend of your life. The basket looks 1,000 feet wide. You're hitting everything. For whatever reason you take
some
magic
reason
pill.
I can still win worlds by throwing 350 feet. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you're Dr. Rick Vokes. I mean, you're
throwing in everything. You're not missing any putts.
Yeah. Do you take the $1 million or do you take the world
championship?
I think
I take it. One, I think I can find a way to make $1 million off that moment.
That's what I said.
Yeah, like I don't know how much money James Conrad made after winning Worlds.
More than that.
They sold a lot of discs, and with his royalty, I mean, I've heard from other players that winning Worlds equals $1 million lifetime, right? With other opportunity that comes your way, royalties, matching bonuses, and also like how much is that worth to you as a moment, right? Yeah. Especially if it's silly like that. I'm going to turn 50 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so, I'm right behind you, buddy. 48. And that's exactly what I had said. I'm like, I think I might not be able to turn that world championship into $1 million for me personally, because at my age, sponsors are going to look at me and go, he's got no future in this. We're not selling it.
No, your age. I just thought at our age, I mean, we're a couple years off. Like, this is a Disney movie. So I definitely take the world championship.
Yeah, as do I, because I still think I could make at least a $500,000. Yeah, right, and sell the rights to it. So, so if I'm up there and everybody is kind of airmailed it, $500 versus $5,000. Yeah, I'm going for the $5,000. It's a better moment. Like $500, cool. Guess what? I could win $500 on a Christmas scratch off. Right. We get one every year from my mother-in-law. That's awesome. Yeah. Yay. That $5,000 though, that's you hit that, and not only maybe you're the first one to hit it. Maybe after it's hit, does that end or does it reset the amount? Like if it gets hit on the 5th event,
it goes back to 5,000 on the 6th event.
Okay, back to 5,000 on the 6th event. Yeah.
So it's minimum 5,000 split amongst if more than one person hits it, and then as soon as it gets hit, it goes back to 5,000. So I think Powerball starts off at 10 million minimum is what they guarantee. Obviously continues to grow. So we're trying to mimic Powerball with a challenge that our fans can enjoy. Like the fact that it's progressive, the fact that it's pari-mutuel are all very similar to how Powerball works.
Any other interesting or activations that you can think of that you would like to implement with the Powerball? I've heard everything from mystery boxes to selling tickets on site, which again I don't think is ever. I don't want to say ever, but I don't believe that's in our near future. But do you have any ideas? One of my favorite and least favorite things about you was when I was doing the production, and we'd get like that one. We were going to start the show at 8:30, and at 8:15, it's like, hey, I've got this new thing I need to put on, and we're like, all right, we'll figure it out, man.
Yes, I very much appreciate how nimble production can be. I apologize that things come at the 11th hour.
Of course.
But sometimes people wave money in your face like the Monday before a tournament. And that's one thing I love about being still, a small team is that Gary, Mahmood, yourself, like they're willing to do it and make sure the commentators know what's going on. So, but with Powerball, we won't have anything last minute, I hope. The Powerball Ace is definitely the most fan-friendly, forward activation. We are also part of our contract is that we have to have a Powerball VIP area that like their state lottery folks can come to and enjoy. They get 100 free tickets that they can give out however they want. And I would hope those tickets go to people that have never seen professional disc golf before. The first time I saw someone throw 500 feet, I was blown away, right? And I want to get that moment in front of more people to help grow the sport. So right now we're looking at quotes for a 20 by 30 tent that will have their branding. Maybe we'll elevate it at some events. Our goal is to put monitors inside so you actually can watch the broadcast. Like this is inspired from what UC did at Worlds. I was lucky enough to go this year and be in the skyboxes for a few groups where it was so cool. I'm literally on hole 18, like on the right side of the fairway, and the discs are flying like at your face or going over your head, like the second shot when people are attacking the green. And like you can hear the disc like going over you, and that's like an experience that I would love disc golf to get. You got to find the right level of danger and safety and experience, but and then I could turn around and watch the broadcast in the skybox behind me. Like that is awesome. I mean, it's the same thing of having like a luxury box at in a stadium where you can look outside and see the game, or you can sit on the couch and watch the broadcast on a TV. So that. And just more infrastructure. There'll be a Powerball archway. If anyone's ever done a road race, and they finish, there's usually a large inflatable. So there'll be a large inflatable Powerball arch that will greet our guests.
Powerball arch, not like a giant red ball, like
We've talked about that.
Kind of like Mama Duck.
Yeah. Did you see that in person? Did you happen to go to Preserve?
I did not know. I loved it. Honestly, I thought it was phenomenal. It was great. Yeah. I think it was one of the best moments of the year.
Silly, right? I was actually disappointed that there wasn't like a large, because I think usually talked about like a giant inflatable gummy bear, Haribo gummy bear at World Championships, but they didn't have it there. So we've talked about the giant red ball, but I would rather have it be something functional. And our events are widely different on the properties that they're on, and I think it's good when people park a car and they're approaching a festival and they can see something from far away that says this is the entrance. So that's my goal. We've done that before with some of our trusses, but in my opinion, those should be on the course for branding and impressions. So I think this is a good new way to welcome our fans to our events.
The money that's being infused into the Pro Tour, we've seen over the last couple of years. Every year there's talks of cuts here or there, whether it's cameramen in the off season or cutting. I know it's come out with Terry being here about some of the cuts for travel costs for the production team, which is why everything is happening. How much of this money is going to go to things like infrastructure versus behind the scenes for technology and other things? Has there been any decisions like that made, or is this kind of one of those? Is this a sponsor that's really, I hate to put it this way, but helping keep the tour afloat?
I don't necessarily keep the tour afloat. Like we would still be here right now. I might not be in this podcast with you if Powerball didn't sign with us.
Yeah, you would. We'd be talking OTB though. It'd be great.
Perhaps that's true. It certainly helps put in a better financial position. It's good for any organization to have a cash reserve, right? To dip into when cash flow doesn't go your way. But I think regardless, the traveling circus that is the tour, we're essentially a traveling circus and a media company in one, right? It's very costly, to fly Terry from Wisconsin to Bend, Oregon, whatever rental car he might have, his hotels, his per diems, like it's expensive. And we're just looking at ways to use efficiencies to reduce costs. Like it's normal. We're going into our 11th year for us to start looking at our budget and see where we can be smarter. But no, it didn't save the tour. Like the schedule was already posted. Like this was going to happen regardless, but it absolutely puts us in a better financial position. It helps us reinvest back into it. Like one of my shiny new toys is I want to, we're at the 5-yard line with getting a new brand recognition tool called Blinkfire, which is
Okay.
software that watches the broadcast, and it will watch the broadcast, it'll watch YouTube, it'll watch Showmez, it'll watch the players' YouTube channels, it'll watch our social feeds, it'll watch the players' social feeds, and then give me reporting to how many impressions we're delivering for our sponsors.
Oh, wow.
So like we have views. I can say that, average concurrent viewership is 15,000 on the network, YouTube 40,000 FPO, 60,000 MPO, but Zuka doesn't necessarily know how many times the trust was viewed. And this tool will allow us to do that. It can find a logo on a fan's hat.
Is that using, I have to assume that's using some sort of machine learning or AI kind of tools?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. We feed in dozens of logos, dozens of different versions of the logos. And it's obviously it knows how to recognize Nike and Adidas. But, like there's a lot of endemic sponsors that we have that we'll feed it into. And it comes out with reporting on an event by event basis. I can put in certain CPM values of what I think the impression is worth. Obviously, a 30-second ad is a higher CPM than the logo on my shirt. And then I've told our sponsors this, like the good news, bad news is like we will likely have more enhanced reporting. The bad news is I think we're delivering way more value than people think we are.
That's not surprising.
Well, it's just we don't know the way the content gets shared and featured now with Reels is that we're not capturing, we don't know what that value is. And this will, like, when someone's video goes viral on TikTok and gets millions of views, like we're not accounting for it. Like if Simon shares something or if Ezra shares something, it's just something that we assume happens. And I want to be able to put like a monetary value on that.
Okay. Is thinking kind of bring this back a little bit to Powerball. We've seen a lot of advertisements on the Pro Tour, whether it's, usually commercials, show up with like a QR code. It's a really good way to kind of gauge viewer feedback. I can't imagine we're going to see much of that with Powerball. So how do you think they're going to register their ROI, so to speak? Are they just looking at the impressions and saying, in general, we know 1 million impressions probably equals $500 in sales or whatever those magic numbers are, and we can provide $10 million or 10 million ad impressions every week? Is that the general idea, or do you think there's a different way that they are going to measure this?
That's a great question. I've had many people ask me this, like friends via text message. And we certainly in our pitch decks like defined that we were providing significantly more value than we were asking for based on historical impression counts. And I don't know if they're looking at this partnership specifically as an ROI play. It might just be, I think we can really help tell the story that I think a lot of people don't know of 50% of your ticket goes to support local causes. Like, I think most people can get behind that message. Like, I don't think that's what casinos do, right? And I'm sure they do some. I'm sure they do. They have to do some goodwill.
Yeah, everybody has some sort of kickback to either the state government or to local, food banks or whatever that number, whatever they're doing to make themselves look good.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me in like our marketing department, I want to make sure that message comes across, and that Powerball can change your life overnight. That's relatively aligned with. We want to make historic moments through the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the players and provide them a stage to change their lives. That's kind of how their marketing works too, is that, for $2, you can retire.
It's funny because I already see in my head the commercial of James Conrad hitting the holy shot, Paul McBeth's first world championship, and then someone winning the Powerball. Like, these are moments that change lives. Things like that are already spinning around in my head. So let's talk a little bit about OTB. And did you the Powerball sponsorship is going to go generally to the tour?
Yeah.
But are you at OTB going to do anything special for Powerball particularly? Obviously, you said you're going to have the VIP area. Does anything else change? Any branded area? I know you guys have always made a big deal of Hole 1, and last year wasn't it like a double-decker private
Almost.
Almost. Okay.
We've continued to reinvest into hole one. Like first year, it was a very tiny stage
Yep.
with the room for the starter and tee pad, and then we've continued to make that bigger. I think we spent like 20 grand in 2025, and where the stage is now got two levels. Actually, yeah, two levels where the fans are on like 2 feet higher than the players and the
Okay.
staff. And I spent a couple $1,000s on outdoor furniture. And actually, my wife is an interior designer. She designed the whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, the new addition we had on 25 was adding a truss to the stage with a shade structure. So anyone in like the super VIP area is literally on a couch or a nice chair with tables. We always provide free sparkling water, and you're shaded. And then MVP had this really cool sign that went behind it, and it just kind of tied everything all together. And it was a wonderful place. I mean, some of the players actually spent all day there, which I was a little frustrated because I'm like, this is for Gold Pass members, but they're welcome to do it. And it's just a
Yeah.
cool place for players, for VIPs and sponsors to commingle with players. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So that we will absolutely either enhance that or keep that the same. And then I have to figure out where this new 20 by 20 or 20 by 30 hospitality tent is going to go, since we already have something really cool at OTB. Will we put those two things together? Perhaps I'll put the Powerball Lounge at Party Island, which is an area on the course where you can watch like 5 or 6 holes. We just have to think what the constraints are with media, if the monitors can still work. But yeah, I'm already. One thing about being on an expansive golf course is that you have a lot of options for spectating. Unlike Maple Hill, where it's like after hole one, it's not till hole 11 where you have like an expansive space. So we have lots of choices, and I'm excited to drill down on that and see how we can fold them into the event.
I'd love to sit here and say, well, since you had a year off of OTB, but you really didn't because of you guys hosted the Champions Cup last year.
Yeah,
but
it was very much not only that we hosted President's Cup and then Champions
that's
Cup.
true. The President's Cup. I didn't even think about President's Cup.
We went from a 3-day event to a 5-day event. I mean, we had the staff and resources of the PDGA, but it was a lot of work.
So is OTB going to feel easier this year, like after doing last year's, or do you just have more ideas you want to put out there? Like, oh, cool, now we can do X, Y, and Z.
I just had a meeting with my business partner, friend Sean Mercy, and Leonard, our Hall of Fame course designer. And for the first year and ever, we're not going to reroute the course. Like we've changed the course so often, but now I think new hole 1 and moving old hole 17 to 18, which is that beautiful peninsula hole on the water, we're not changing that, especially because next to hole 18, there's a pump house that we can put a static cam. And because it's elevated, they can capture like at least 4 holes. So like our fixed cam for OTB, like unlike Maple Hill where it's on hole 8 all the time or hole 14, ours can swivel around and capture like at least 4 shots from 4 different holes because of the sight lines. So no major changes. Honestly, I'm okay with that. Like this is going to be a very busy season for me as the VP of partnerships for the tour. And I would love, and also we spend between $10,000 and $15,000 a year improving the Swenson Park disc golf course, which is only open for the tournament. Like it's a safari course. And so it's frustrating to spend that much money on infrastructure on a property I don't own. So I would love to keep like new tee pads down to a minimum and just really work on beautification. I think like the layout that we have now is pretty dialed in, and we don't need major steps. So I think this is a year where we'll just tighten the screws and not try to do anything crazy. Maybe next year, when we'll probably be the tournament before Worlds, we'll go a little bit bigger to make sure we get as many people on site as we can.
That makes a lot of sense.
But I always want to do so. I always tell my staff we want to do one cool new thing every year, and I don't know what that is yet. And maybe I'll leverage this Powerball relationship to elevate their VIP area 3 stories high. Like I've gotten quotes for like double decker viewing areas. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't had that much time to focus on it, but that tournament is only 5 months away. So It'll be here before I know it.
Yeah, it'll sneak up on you.
Yes.
Do you have, and obviously I'm not expecting a detailed answer, do you have other sponsors lined up yet? Any other new sponsors for the Pro Tour that you're either on the verge of signing, that you've already signed and we haven't announced yet?
Yeah, our agency, it took our agency a few months of, I think, just educating their sales staff. Like, because they're the first touch that a cold email goes out. They usually have the first phone call. If they gain traction, they bring me in. And their staff now is just more educated on disc golf, our fan base, and just things to focus on. So there's a lot more activity in the pipeline in their CRM. I have several proposals out there for non-endemic sponsors. I don't know how many will close, but I would be shocked if you don't see at least the return of some significant sponsors and at least one new one. And then we always bring on partners like when the season starts. Like the tour itself is its own advertising vehicle, right? Like it's constantly making moments. And chief marketing officer might see an ace on SportsCenter and go like, oh, I can, for $30,000, I can get a whole sponsorship, which is pretty cheap, especially when you cut the amount you're paying per view. So yeah, I have some really good sponsors that I'm excited that I hopefully will get to the finish line before the season starts.
Awesome.
Nothing obviously is nothing the size of Powerball, because I don't know what we would even give. We gave them everything we could, right? Like there's no other premier. I mean, we have several categories available, but we can't sell a co-presenting. It can't be the Golf Pro Tour presented by Powerball and
no, but there's got to be something, Sean. Honestly, if I came to you with $1 million right now, and I said I have $1 million, I want to invest in this tour.
I will find inventory for you if you have $1 million. Yes, like
yeah, you'll find some way to put my name out there. Whether I'm the
yeah, I mean, we need a hydration sponsor. Like we need an energy drink sponsor. That's something that I kicked myself in the shins for not having yet. Any like private services, like the official insurer, right, of the tour. So there's lots of parking spots there that we expect to start filling. But like right now, I was just looking at my pipeline and what I've closed for 2026, and obviously including Powerball helps. But we're in the best. My division is in by far the best position it's ever been.
I love it. I do. I think, and as much as we can all sit here and think, man, I really wish it wasn't Powerball and it was some sort of outdoor shoe clothing company. I think the overlap with Powerball is great. I personally don't have any issues with the sponsor. We all want to be the NBA. We all want that big shoe sponsor, whether people like it or not. It seems to be one of the most. We've got Vessi. I understand. I'm not no downplaying to Vessi, but everyone's looking at that Adidas.
No,
that
I get
Nike.
it. We want Nike to start making this. We want Nike to start making this and for the Nike tour. Yeah, I get it.
Well, I don't know if Discraft and Innova want that, but sure.
No, fair enough. No, that's true. That's true. However, like if a big sporting good manufacturer started making discs, they'd be incentivized to grow the sport.
Yep.
Right? Like I think that's the difference. And when people have asked me like what the next pandemic-esque movement is for the sport, I think that when we get big enough where people look at the size of the industry and it's $1 billion, it's not there yet. It's probably closer to $250 million, but if you multiply it times 15% over and over again, we're probably projected to be $1 billion by 2035, 2040. Maybe they'll pay attention. And you might, those folks might make ads that they would play on the NFL to get people out there throwing discs. But I don't think that's anytime soon. So, but I totally acknowledge that there's a percentage of people that would prefer it to be a different category, but it's a pretty good fit. Like there's several companies in disc golf that use the word power, Power Grip, Power Disc Golf Academy. So it's pretty seamless. And honestly, like a lot of the deals I've done, this was because someone in the organization played disc golf and believed in us. Like it wasn't just them looking at the audience, the demographic. It was someone inside that started playing the sport during the pandemic, that fell in love with it, that saw that we provide movement, community, and the outdoors, which are things that people desperately need nowadays. And like that's the shared vision that we have.
I can see it already. Tim on the board says power pocket. That's like the common term for your pull through. I can see a form review already. Did Macbeth hit the power pocket and the slow mo replay of him off the tee? Or the power ball pocket.
That's good.
I know that's Tim. I'm not taking too much credit for that. He said power pocket, and I just extrapolated on it. So, that's
no. I like power pocket. Like keep them coming.
Yeah. We'll find ways.
The word power. Yeah.
I do want to. All right, I want to be just slightly negative here. The Powerball. Well, God, I have it up here. What is it? The Powerball standings, the Powerball playoffs, and the Powerball Cup. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie. I hate the Powerball Cup. I hate it. I hate the name. I want it to be something else.
Funny.
I don't know what
all
else.
Those three things, that's my favorite.
Oh, see, I dislike it. And maybe I've been thinking about it. I want the tour finale to be called something and then presented by, or maybe not presented, but powered by Powerball, or however dumb that sounds. I just have this issue that I think if the Pro Tour finale wants to have the cachet, we almost need to have a standard name for it. So that in 3 years or 5 years, when Powerball, maybe they are still our primary sponsor, but maybe they're not. We're not looking back and being like, oh yeah, Gannon won wait, that was the Powerball Cup that year versus the Steve Dodge Cup presented by Powerball or something, something like that.
Well, you're calling it a tour finale. It's called the Tour Championship, right? You're using
the tour
name.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just don't
say that you want it to be. You're not naming it correctly now.
Correct.
Right? So
yeah, because we don't have a standard name for it. We need a standard name for our tour championship / finale / whatever we're going to call it. And I want like a named trophy, like we've got the Stanley Cup, or what is it? I think the NFC has the Hallis trophy. Oh, I forget exactly what every trophy, but we need like we need a standard thing, and then presented by. I don't mind the other ones. I don't mind the standings, and I don't mind the playoffs. Honestly, I just, in my gut, for some reason, Powerball Cup doesn't sit. I want something different, but that's just me.
You know what it is for golf?
Not a clue.
The FedEx Cup.
Yeah, and because they're
just.
Yeah, they've been the sponsor for a few years.
We're just borrowing a similar model, and it's the FedEx point standings. And honestly, their tour championship, like ours, the most common thing about it is that it changes all the time.
They change their rules all the time.
Same with us. I don't know if we'll figure it out this year. It's challenging to figure out a single event that rewards a season's worth of work with a model that is also fun and engaging for fans, both online and on site. And I think that's why we keep experimenting to get to the right spot. I actually spoke to Steve this morning, and he has a new vision for the Powerball Cup, which is pretty cool. What I want to see in him too is like, how can we get that, or perhaps the last 9 holes, on linear television? I think it's really tough for us to get all 18 because it's 3 hours plus. But I would love for a show to start that's maybe 60 to 90 minutes, where the first 5 to 7, the A block, first 5 to 7 minutes is us catching people up, and then boom, we're on hole 10. And the last 4 players are playing for $100,000 total, something like that. But yeah, it's funny that you say that. Like, of all the naming rights that they've got, Powerball Cup to me was the one, because it's so similar to golf, that actually rolled off the tongue the easiest. And I've been able to say it so many times, like the race to the Powerball Cup.
Well, then we better.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
We better get a goddamn cup for them. There better be, at the end, there better be a cup. Period. I don't want a trophy. It has to be a cup. If we're going for the Powerball Cup, it better be some sort of some chalice or something. I want the Holy Grail out there. I want them to melt when they drink it. So
yeah, like a Wimbledon style trophy with the cup on top. Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Real quick, I know you said we wanted to keep this to about an hour. I want to go.
Wow, that went by fast.
It did. I know. I want to slightly go off tangent. One of the things I did this week with Terry out is I reached out to a lot of the biggest. I kind of call them tech companies in our sport. DGN. I reached out to UDisc. I reached out to the PDGA. I kind of want to get an idea of just what they're doing technology wise. And I'll say, two of them didn't get back to me. DGN was great getting back to me, and maybe it's because they know me. But
well, you're part of our family, right?
I am. Yes, 100% I am. So I want to ask you two questions. One, is there any progress on DGN having a 24-hour streaming disc golf channel yet on DGN? Like being able to just turn on disc golf and not have to think about, what do I want to watch? Do I want to watch, the 2012 championships? Do I watch the 2023 Holy Shot? Just golf the other day we were at the bar, we were doing putting league, and it was on, and it was just the Scotty Scheffler day. 24 hours of Scotty Scheffler. I want that for DGN. I want to be able to turn it on and not think and just have golf.
Let me ask you a question. Are you saying that you want that for DGN, or you want Disc Golf Network to be a fast channel on other platforms?
Both. I think both would be great. I'd love to see it as a fast channel. There's been talks for 5 or 7 years about getting into the fast channel stuff. But even just DGN, I want a stream where I don't have to, I want to turn off my brain. I just want to turn on DGN and just be like, whatever you're playing, just let me watch it. Put it on in the background. I could, talk to our local putting league. They could just have it on the station, and it's just disc golf going during putting league instead of someone having to monitor it.
Put on DGN, there's always something there when we're not broadcasting live, right? As opposed to you having to shop and stream it, right? That I don't know. I do know that we've had some conversations with ad-supported networks to get a disc golf channel similarly to how tennis and golf have it on other networks, that you can, because we now have thousands of hours of content.
Yeah.
We have enough to cover 24 hours in a day for months, probably, without having to repeat ourselves. Because again, going back, the broadcasts are 3.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on the event. I would love to see that just for discoverability for someone that's in their hotel and they're I never anymore, unless I'm traveling, actually go to a guide to watch something, right? But I do think there are some benefits. You're even going like, what's that, right? Like, what are you talking about, a guide?
No, I have to. I mean, anytime you go to a hotel, you don't know if you're in, Spokane, Washington. I don't know what channel ESPN is. I don't know what channel HBO is, because those are the two channels everybody goes to see what's on TV. Like, what's on ESPN? All right, cool. Maybe I'll sit and watch, college volleyball. Or what's on HBO? Cool, Predator 2. There it is. I'm going to sit and watch Predator 2, Yeah.
Well, thankfully now a lot of hotel rooms are having smart TVs where you can log into your own Netflix account, YouTube accounts, etc. So I think that's getting phased out. But yeah, I would love to see us get a fast channel on ad-supported network. I think it's a great idea for us to, I don't know what it takes to have just a constant stream on the network. Because you have all these relationships, I challenge you to poke, Mahmoud or Gary, to figure out if we can stand that up. Probably would a better request 2 months ago versus now, as we're ramping up the season. But that is a good idea, especially for all the putting leagues at bars and breweries going on right now, to just have something mindless in the background. But I would rather, for me, within my role with partnerships, I would rather work on like the distribution side, not something in the network internally, because I want to get disc golf out there for people to go. I think we're finally at a point now. When I first started playing in 2008, many people didn't know we existed, right? It was like, you play what? And then now I think everyone knows what disc golf is in the United States, or vast majority. But there's still a lot of people that don't know that's a professional league and people making a life on the tour. And when they see on TV and it's buttoned up and the broadcast is good and there's good reaction shots and replays, they go, wow, this is a real thing. And so we need to get it in front of more eyeballs. Maybe get it on airplanes, I think, is something that we've discussed. Getting in airports, getting on, is it Cheddar TV? So like, that bars and TVs will subscribe to. So just more of those opportunities. I'd love this. Honestly, I think there's probably like a role in the tour in the future that you're just the director of distribution and you're just working on those deals, around the clock.
Well, I just think of like the Roku channels. My father-in-law has smart TV, I think a Samsung, or we have a Roku. I think they're all the same channels. But he just sits and watches 2 different hot rod channels. Like, cool, guess what? There's another auction from 2023 where they're auctioning off hot rods, or he's flipping to the other channel where they're doing, stock car racing, or there's flipping to the other channel where they're rebuilding a stock or a hot rod, because he does hot rod restoration and stuff. And so and I just think, I'm like, why isn't there? And I know it's a bigger thing, but in my head, I always think, God, we should have a disc golf one. We have so much content. How great would it be just to like my Roku disc golf channel and just stream disc golf? And again, every person here can probably go home at Christmas and just turn it on. Boop. All right, there you go. We're just gonna have this on in the background.
It's a great idea. Distribution is definitely like in the short term plan to help grow the tour, grow the sport, and just get more eyeballs on it.
All right, and then my last question for you before I let you go. It's 9:00 right now. This is totally kind of related. You're in San Francisco right now. How crazy is the AI? I don't say bubble because I don't know necessarily if it's a bubble, but right now AI is the biggest thing in the world, technology-wise, and San Francisco is the center of this. What's it like there right now for just everything AI? You have to have connections. You've been in San Francisco for 15 years?
Yeah. I mean, since 2008. So coming up, I'm
almost 20.
And in about a year, I will have lived here longer than anywhere else in my life, which is kind of crazy to think about. So driverless cars are everywhere. I think that's the first thing that you can visibly see when you come visit. Waymo, which is an Alphabet company, is all over the place. They now expanded outside the city. You can take one to the airport, and they are everywhere. And over the holidays, my section of the city and some others lost power, and they all had to pull over. They were just sitting there. So that's like the con of the pro. Zoox is still in beta. Zoox is Amazon's driverless car that has no steering wheel. Waymo is actually a Jaguar, and it's a nice car. There's still a driver's seat, and the driver's seat is got a seat buckled, and then 4 passengers can sit there. With Zoox, I think they can fit up to 8 people. It's like a toaster, with almost looks like a London taxi. If anyone's ever ridden in a black taxi in London, where you sit front to back and back to front, those things look like the future. I'm pissed that I can't ride in one yet. I'm not in one of the early adopter program. And then thankfully, this city, more than probably any other in the United States, had the slowest pandemic recovery. We had the most severe restrictions. So many people were able to work remotely, and they moved elsewhere, to maybe Lake Tahoe or Sacramento. And vacancy rates in downtown went from 3% to 40%. So downtown got kind of crushed. That's certainly changing. Real estate prices are finally going back up. Rents are going back up. Commercial real estate rental prices are going up. Job market is hot. Is it another bubble like we had about 20 years ago? I don't know. I have some friends that are on both sides of the fence. One is completely bullish that AI is going to be the greatest wealth creation that human civilization has ever seen. Whereas, what's Michael's last name that was in The Big Short? That guy that predicted
Michael Burry.
Thank you, Michael Burry. He's on the opposite side, where he thinks this is another bubble and AI won't be that big of a deal. But I don't know. But yeah, the city is definitely changing. New construction. It definitely looks a little bit. I mean, I live on the west side of town. San Francisco is a peninsula, like a fist, and I live 1 mile from the beach, and downtown is literally on the other side of the city. So I kind of live in a suburban section of it. But the robot cars, my daughter calls it the ghost car, are awesome.
Yeah, I saw them in Arizona. In Phoenix, they have them as well. And the first time you see it, it freaks you out when a car pulls up next to you and you're like, there ain't nobody there.
Did you ride in one?
I did not. No, we had a rental car. We were there for Memorial last year, and it just
Okay.
pulls up next to you. And there's no calm in that car. The minute it turns green, it is off the line. And you're like,
Yeah, they're not.
geez.
I wouldn't say they're aggressive, but they're not like conservative drivers at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It's. I remember one time we were driving to a friend's house, and it was scary. Like the Waymo was going really slow, and I was like, "Waymo, hit it!" And like, boom, it just zoomed and took off. So, yeah, the driverless cars is definitely the one thing that every person can see. Whenever I have friends visit me here, it's like it's a new tourist attraction. To be honest, like I remember a friend of mine I hadn't seen in 15 years, put her in the front seat in the shotgun, and she looks next to her and she's like, WTF? Like, what the hell is this? And it's a nice car. It's a Jaguar. Like my wife and I, if we go to an event and we don't want to drive, we prefer Waymo with our kid more than Uber or Lyft because you can just bring the booster seat. There's no questions asked.
Oh, I
People that have
suppose.
animals prefer it. So yeah, it's but I don't know. Is it a bubble? Is Nvidia stock going to keep soaring? I don't know, but
I bought.
it's definitely this uncertainty. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, again, we are a home base for the next growth in tech.
Yeah. No, I'll be the first to say it. I bought like $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 in Nvidia stock when it took a dip after DeepSeek dropped, and it was down to like 120 or 118 or something. And I looked at it and I go, well, if I'm going to get in, now's the time. So I moved some assets in my investments, and I was like, sure, why not? And it's been fine. I've been pretty happy with it. Not going to lie.
What's it trading at now?
I have no clue. I haven't looked in a couple weeks, but Nvidia.
185.
Yeah. So it's up
You're up
what?
like 25%.
Yeah, 25, 30%. Not too bad for the last 3 to 4 months, I think. So
25% in 3 to 4 months is more than not bad.
yeah, exactly.
It's pretty
Are you
good.
do you kick yourself that you haven't gotten a big tech company to sponsor yet? That we haven't seen like a. I mean, you live in the center of maybe the
I hear
wealthiest
you.
the wealthiest companies in the world's history. Whether that's
Yes.
Google or Apple, OpenAI, Nvidia,
Yep.
whoever else is there, like at some point you have to be looking around and be like, "There's a lot of cash in this damn town."
Yeah, I don't work in the industry, but I think if I have a dream that I bring the San Francisco Open back to
Mhm.
here, as much as I love Swenson Park and Stockton and the folks there, it's been awesome. I actually want to bring, for the folks that don't remember, I ran the San Francisco Open in 2018 and 2019. It was at the Glen Eagles Golf Course, which was gorgeous. It's picturesque, amazing elevation change, a rad course. However, I want to bring the SFO back to Golden Gate Park and do a modified safari layout at the Golden Gate Park disc golf course and the Lindley Meadow, which is across the street, and the park course, which we already take over for safari, and have it free and open to the public, similar to what UC does at Worlds and at the Beast Course, and to have like VIP areas. And that I think would be the opportunity to approach one of those companies to have a Lyft open or Uber open. I just don't know from a technological, I just don't know if our audience is the perfect fit. Um, but honestly, when I worked in my previous role, I worked for like a local digital newspaper. Facebook and Google were both my customers,
Mhm.
but it was to advertise events that they did to honestly produce goodwill in the local community because some people don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that yeah, I mean,
Yeah, like
when you're
Facebook
the
threw a
biggest company in
giant
the
party at
world,
her.
you've got a giant
Yes.
target on your back.
Well, they also like provide buses that are private that for their employees that take up space, and they're not, when you're that size of an organization, some people are going to be unhappy with you. But yeah, but I've not they have not been on my list of targets to go after via LinkedIn. Like I'm not dropping into the chief marketing officer's LinkedIn profile on Google to sponsor the tour. I think software could help us if someone had a product that we could implement into the broadcast and maybe give it to us for free for advertising. I had very basic conversations with a software company about that, but nothing came to fruition. So, like for instance, Amazon Web Services is the backbone behind the network right now.
Yep.
Like if AWS want to do a partnership, which they do with a lot of sports properties.
Yeah, they huge with the NFL constantly. Like you constantly see
that would make more sense for us as opposed to just the OTB Open presented by Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Sean, I appreciate the time you've given me. It's 10 after 9. I promised you we'd be done in about an hour, so I don't feel like we went.
You said way less than an hour.
I did. Okay. You're right. I totally lied. I said way less than an hour.
I love being on the show. I love talking to you. I'm disappointed Terry's not here because years ago, Steve came on the show to inform Terry that he would be no longer a commentator on the Disc Golf Network. That was a famous moment in the
in our
history.
shows.
And I was hoping to come on to tell Terry that he is going to be on the Disc Golf Network.
He is, yes. He is going to be on the Disc Golf Network, and we've talked about how, he's doing mostly remote stuff, on-course stuff, but nothing set in stone. There's still a possibility he gets in the booth.
No, the commentator schedule is still not set. But what I've been told is that Jeff and Terry have touched base, and Terry actually will, in fact, be in the booth. Booth.
All right, good.
Cool. For a few events, on the ground for some. So he should be represented at several events. I mean, Terry's been with the tour since the beginning, as you have. His relationship is very valuable. To me specifically, Terry does maybe the best job of all the commentators with sponsorships. He really hams it up and leans into it.
He's so good with that.
And that's when I heard from him via social that he was not going to be here. I was like, huh? I'm not so sure that's true. So we are welcoming Terry back. The commentator schedule is not set whatsoever. It's still in flux, but the fans of Terry Miller will see the Disc Golf Guy on DGN next year.
This year. Yeah, we're fairly confident of that. I don't know. I haven't talked seriously. This might be one of the longest I haven't communicated with Terry in a decade.
Ever?
Because it's been, I think, other than a Facebook message where he just sent me a screenshot of something. That was all the communication we've had in like the last 2 weeks. Last week for sure. So him and I are usually hooked at the hip. But all right, Sean,
he should be here. It's like. It's only like, what is it?
He should, but
noon, like 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
He's got the weirdest schedule in general because he's a night owl when he's here in the States, and
so he's probably like sleeping.
My guess is he's sleeping, or he maybe had a late night with Calvin, who was out there for the the Asia Open, who won that event this past weekend. So maybe they had themselves a nice long fun night in Taiwan. Trying to drum up some semiconductor sponsors, probably.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Of course. You're always welcome back. Hopefully we'll come back and chat maybe right before the OTB Open. We'll figure out what that giant, that new piece of...
one big thing.
The one big thing on that event.
One big new thing every year. That's what we do.
All right, everybody. This was Sean Jack. Sean, have yourself a good night. Enjoy San Francisco. It's what, 7:15 there. Go have dinner or something. I don't know what you've
I am. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right, okay. All right, Sean. Have yourself a good night. That was Sean Jack from the Disc Golf Pro Tour. He controls all the sponsorships, and by controls I mean tries to get them. He is a phenomenal human being and a friend of ours and a friend of the show. I could honestly talk to him about tech stuff for like the next 6 hours, and it wouldn't shock me, but I have to cut myself off at some point. With Terry gone, I truly did do actual research, not only into the Powerball stuff, but I reached out to a bunch of companies, and I reached out to UDisc and asked a couple questions. I guess we'll kind of go through that real quick, and maybe we hear more. Maybe I hear more from them in the upcoming couple days. But reach out to UDisc and ask them when we can expect to see the yearly survey of disc golf rounds and the God, I forget what they call it. Steve Hill put it in the email, and I'm just drawing a blank because I don't have it up right now. But they said it's going to be closer to March when the tour starts, that they feel it has a bigger impact at that point. But I also asked how and if they're using AI to enhance or quicken, or how they in general use AI in their products, or if there's any plans to implement AI into any of their products. And I haven't heard back from them yet. I don't know if I will, to be honest. I hope I do, because that type of stuff really interests me, and I know it can be a hot button, which is why I'm going to take a rough guess and maybe say that they did not respond directly. Matt and Josh used to kind of, I'll say this, it used to be a lot easier to get in contact with them. Now Steve Hill kind of filters a lot of stuff. So, but they did not respond to me in regards to those questions. And I asked the same thing to the DGPT, or I'm sorry, the PDGA. I asked Pete Christ about whether, what's on the agenda for 2026. Are we going to see any new features in the app? And as well, whether they are implementing or using any sort of AI in the applications that they build or the programming that they're doing. I can only imagine they are. That's my guess. But because AI is it can be such a hot button issue with some people, I wonder if maybe that's why in the last 5 or 6 days since I've sent that email, I haven't heard anything. Maybe just no one is willing to kind of step out on that limb and talk to me about how they are using AI in their applications. I did reach out as well to continue on this technology thread. I reached out to the Pro Tour, as I said earlier, and I got some really good responses, and it didn't have to do with AI. I talked to Mahmoud about what they are looking to improve, enhance, and work on this year with the broadcast. Obviously, they were getting a big influx of money, but that is a relatively, quote-unquote, new thing. As of the last month and a half, a lot of plans are already made for that. And so he said that this new influx of money doesn't really change too much. I'm paraphrasing here, with the broadcast, but their focus this year is going to be their focus primarily is to improve processes and audio. They're always trying to improve the audio quality of the broadcast. That's hands down probably the hardest part of the broadcast. It's the touchiest. I talked to Gary as well, and he had said that they're working on some ways to get the audio levels exactly where they want them at the right times. So that is going to be a big focus on the broadcast this year, is audio quality and just audio in general. And the other person from the Pro Tour I reached out to was Tosi. For those of you that don't know, Tosi works for the DGN. He was kind of the guy that was in charge of the big upgrade to when they moved to AWS and they worked with a new partner, the DGN app. I asked him some questions, and I want to read some of these verbatim because they're really good answers. My first question to him was, will we see the DGN app come to any additional platforms this year? And I'm going to just zoom in a little bit because my font is a little small here. He says, no new platforms, but we've updated our mobile apps, the iOS and the Android, to the newest version of .NET, which is a programming language. This offseason, released a completely new Roku app at the end of the last year because the first Roku app had some issues, which I'll say, I'm a Roku watcher. I didn't really have many issues. So they tore it down and rebuilt it. And they're about to release a new version of the Apple TV app, which should alleviate any issues the users were having previously on that platform. Then, of course, we are constantly monitoring feedback from users and, updating bugs across all the platforms, but no new platforms. So if you were interested in watching it on your Apple Watch, that ain't happening. Or if your Samsung TV, I don't think there's a Samsung TV app. Those type of things, or Xbox was a very popular one. The Switch was a popular one. None of those are probably going to be released. I asked, can we expect to see any new features on the DGN app? And he says, nothing imminent, but they're always looking to continue to add features, improve the user experience iteratively over time. Right now, their focus is really on much more boring stuff, like automated transactional emails on the back end that notify users ahead of time if their bill is going to change due to like a lapsed PDGA membership, that type of thing. These sort of communications are very important for users so they aren't surprised by a billing or product change. We want to be as transparent as possible here and give people as much information as possible when it comes to these things. Once we take important housekeeping items like these, there are a few other development items related to admin and reporting that got kicked down the road. Then we'll focus on adding features. So don't expect any new features at the start of the year, but do expect our apps to be working well and expect our communication with our subscriber base to improve for the better. Then, as time continues, you can definitely expect us to add features to the app. Number 3, what's the biggest request from the subscriber base that you hope to accomplish in the next few seasons? They said, we're still in the middle of these discussions, so I can't give you anything concrete quite yet, but know that we have a good sense of what people are asking for, and we are going to be doing some incredibly exciting things this season and beyond, so stay tuned. And there's going to be a lot of positive changes in the very near future. So I'm excited about, what the subscribers themselves are doing. I asked, what's on their wish list for the DGN app? Anything you've seen at trade shows or other streaming services that you'd love to implement in at the DGN? The item that is always number 1 on his wish list is full-on disc tracking of every throw for every player using GIS and making this information instantly available to our fans. I'm going to interject here and say that's a lot of pie in the sky. I understand it's a wish list item, and I appreciate Tosi for saying that. That would require so much work. Just, that's crazy. I don't see that happening for another 4 to 5 years, and then it's going to be hopefully all AI related, that type of stuff. Like right now, the PGA uses like lasers. They've got lasers set up all over, and they're lasering balls back and forth, and you got people writing all this stuff down. I think some of it can be done with some AI tracking stuff, but it's going to require a lot of work up front. But they say this would allow us to tell stories of players that don't necessarily make it onto coverage and allow users to filter and display the information that is pertinent to them. It's a multi-year endeavor, as I said, but it's something that he's passionate about. So I'm excited. Tosi is he's so good at what he does, and I'm really excited for what the DGN app will become. He says then, in terms of straightforward wishes, he's in talks with a few select AI companies that can hopefully make a lot of their footage searchable. I think a lot like what Sean Jack was saying as far as sponsors and maybe, being able to look at the DGN app and say something like, I want to see all the largest the crowds at the largest events, the events with the largest crowds. That's the words I'm trying to get out. Or maybe the European Open, or every birdie by Owen Scoggins, those type of things. And of course, he says accessibility features such as transitions, caption translation into multiple languages, which I think is important because we are seeing us expand over into Asia quite a bit. So having those being able to be automatically transcribed into other languages, and including Europe, not everybody speaks English there, although a large majority do. Having those automatically transcribed could be important. And at this point, not even just transcribed, but the way things are working, you could have it transcribed and actually read in the language. So you could be sitting there watching Terry, and out of his mouth is Mandarin. And maybe the lips don't line up, but the way some of the AI stuff is that I've seen, they could maybe even get the lips to line up, which would be kind of crazy. But those type of things, I think, are very important for the future of the sport. So these are all things that Tosi has reached out, was kind enough to respond to me for those type of things. And yeah, so I wanted to do a technology-based issue or a podcast in general. I really wish I would have heard more back from the PDGA and UDisc, as I think they're kind of two of our leaders in technology right now. But maybe I still will. That's not to say, people are very busy. It's only been a few days since I've sent out that email. Let's talk more now about what we usually do. We're going to go into some event results. We're going to talk about the TDU, the 2026 Taranaki Disc Golf Open presented by MVP Discs. This is the New Zealand event down in Inglewood. Not Inglewood in California, Inglewood, New Zealand. The Tour Down Under. Winning this, Levi Stout. Congratulations, Levi. Levi, who I believe I heard is going to be coming overseas from him, over to here to do touring for the Pro Tour next year. He won He shot 18 under par, beating Bradley Williams by 5 strokes, 1049, 1049, 1041, winning $824 US. Bradley Williams in second place, shooting 13 under. Corey Ellis in third place, shooting 5 under. Quite a gap between second and third. Aiden Scott at 4 under in fourth place, and Francis Orange in fifth place. Those are your top 5 for MPO. Looking at the FPO field, Jennifer Smiley wins this, shooting 7 under par, winning $486. Second place, Taylor Chosick, shooting 4 under. Taylor was kicking some butt. She had it herself, I believe, a 4-stroke lead going into the final round, and unfortunately just couldn't keep it together for that third and final round. Jennifer had shot 7 strokes better than her, so she ends up winning by 3. Third place, Kat Mertz, shooting 1 over par. What does that say about Taylor and Jennifer, considering Kat, is the highest rated player there at 967, only second to Sophia, who took 5th place. Sarah Holcomb in 4th place, shooting 3 over par. But the fact that Jennifer Smiley and Taylor shooting really, really well. So Taylor putting in the work this offseason. Great to watch. We're going to talk about, real quick, the Estera Open 11. We're going to turn it up to 11. This is in Estero, Florida, in the United States, down in Florida. MPO. Randon Lada, a name we haven't talked about too much recently, wins $795, followed up by Ethan Bishop, McQuaith Andrick in 3rd place. In 4th place, Zach Arlinghouse, and 5th place, Kevin Kiefer. There was no FPO, so we don't need to talk about that. And, of course, we can't go, I know this isn't an A tier, but we are going to talk about it. It's a BC tier. It's the 2026 Asia Disc Golf Open, the PDGA Asia Tour event numero uno. This is in, on here it says Chinese Taipei. I think most of us know this as Taiwan. Tournament director Richard Tang. Kelvin Heimberg. Godzilla goes to Taiwan and crushes the competition by 6 strokes. 30 under par, beating Jackie Chen by 6 strokes. Now you could say 6 strokes, that's a pretty healthy win. Really, he beat him 1 round, similar to the Jennifer Smiley, Taylor Chosick we just spoke about. Calvin and Jackie were tied after the first round, shooting 55, which was a 10:31 rated round. It was the second round where Calvin kind of put the gas on and shot a 1071 rated 50, while Jackie Chen had a lackluster for him. Actually, it's not even for him because he's only 1,006 rated right now, but shot a 1014 rated 57. And then the third round, Jackie shot 1 stroke better than Calvin, shooting 53 to Calvin's 54, ultimately losing by 6 strokes because of that second round. But a lot of people who maybe poo-pooed Jackie Chen after he came out hot out of the gate a few years ago came to the U.S. and didn't play that well. Jackie Chen's got some game. Third place. Sorry about this. It's going to be Zheng Homing. First name is TSZ. I'm sorry, I don't know how to quite pronounce that. There's no vowels in that for me, and so maybe it says Zhe Homing. We'll go with Zhe Homing. Shooting 12 under par, 1,007, 974, and 1,007. Fourth place, Joey Bruno, and 5th place, Manabu, the legend over in Asia. The FPO side saw Chai-Fang Chen shoot 5 over par, shooting 915, 916, and 924. And then second place was Sumei Yang. Those are your top 2. It doesn't have how many people cashed in here, so sorry, can't tell you. But ultimately, that was your first event in the Asia Open. That is the first stop in the Southeast Asian Tour. We're going to see a lot more. I think Terry's there for the entire tour. He swings back here for 2 weeks at some point, but then goes back over to Asia for the tour. Exciting stuff happening in Southeast Asia. I imagine we're going to see something similar. It's going to take a few years, and we've talked about this, that we're going to see in New Zealand. Paige Pierce was on the socials just recently saying how she is going to be heading. She's just got on the plane to head over to New Zealand for her first trip over there. So some exciting stuff happening in that area of the world. Let me look at some of the other tabs I have open right now. Yeah, that is the Powerball information. And the other information from the Pro Tour, which dropped today, was they added 4 additional Euro Tour events in 2026. So now there's 8 Euro Tour events over there, which makes a really good tour. I felt like 4 tour stops wasn't really a great tour. It's kind of mediocre, I'm not going to lie. And that they were really condensed. But the fact that they're adding 4 more, and they will not use the Q Series designation in Europe this year. I think we're going to see the end of the Q Series. But this is awarding a simplified Euro Tour event classification to an additional set of tournaments, which will operate under PDGA A-tier status and serve as the continuation of the full European schedule. I think maybe the big news, other than the 4 events, is the first event. And that's the one that's in Pärnu, Estonia. It's run by Kristen and Silver Lat. Anyone that maybe was worried or thinking that Kristen was going to step away from disc golf completely, I don't think we're going to have that issue. I don't personally, I'm still under the impression that I don't see her playing any Elite Series events or really any major events that would be captured on footage or live probably ever again. That's my personal take. Not to say she's never going to play another PDGA event again, but I don't think we're going to see too much from her on that side. So the European tour schedule will begin in Pärnu, hosted in coordination with an event team led by Kristen and Silver Lat, and serving as a great warm-up tournament ahead of the European Open, which will take place in Estonia at the Tallinn Song Grounds Festival. We've seen that place, and that's it. And then it kind of goes through the entire tour. From there, we obviously do the European Open, which is our major. So we might see some people play Estonia and the major. After that's the Swedish Open, then the Ale Open, the Heinola Open, Sierravari Challenge. Bunch of opens and a challenge. Moravian Open and the Silesia Open. I am sorry to all of our European listeners. I just massacred those. But you know what you get when you come to the show. I'm going to massacre names. Probably going to massacre cities. That's just what I do. It's 9:30. We've kind of talked about all the news that's out there. I'm going to briefly discuss a little bit about sponsorships, because we have had some sponsorship news show up in the last, I'd say last week since we talked. What's today's date? Today's the 13th, so we last spoke on the 6th, and I believe since then, yeah, maybe we talked on the 7th. I don't know. Jaden Rye. I'll kind of go through the list here. Jaden Rye, which is an MPO player who signed a 1-year contract with DGA. DGA is such a really good young team. Seeing Cole Radalin and Eliezer Midling, Andrew Marweed, it's just, that team is so, has so much potential, I guess is the way I would put it. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how Eliezer plays after whatever rehab she's doing on her knee. Miss Frisbee's Chantel Bedinsky, who was 27th in the DGPT standings for FPO, is leaving Prodigy Discs. She had an entire social media post on this about how Prodigy came to her. She's very, as every player says, that they're so thankful for their sponsor and this and that. That's great. That's a given. But she did say that they came back this year with less than she expected and probably even less than last year. And so she decided to part ways with Prodigy. She's going to work more on her YouTube channel. We hear every player say at the beginning of this year, or at the beginning of every year, I'm going to focus on my YouTube. I'm going to do this and do that. She's one that I could actually see doing it. But we're going to see what happens with Miss Bedinsky this year. She's out of Canada. Maybe a smaller tour. I don't know. It's going to be hard to say. January 8th, Luke Humphreys announced a 2-year extension with Prodigy as the team captain. DGA just in general announced their tour team, as we talked about. They also picked up Jake Mon, another really young, phenomenal player. Sullivan Tipton, who, had the hot end of the season last year. So those are some DGA announcements. Matt Bell continues with Thought Space. Nestori Tukkanen announced his departure from Latitude 64, and 17-year-old Colin Bryant signed a contract extension with Westside Discs. Colin is another one of those young up-and-comer. He's 1032 rated at 17. Crazy. And Colton Montgomery parted ways with Discmania after 10 years. Many of you remember Colton at one point, I think his brother, I think it was his brother, worked for Discmania. Colton had another post thanking them, but honestly, it sounded a little bit bitter. I don't say bitter, maybe bittersweet. It wasn't exactly a happy ending, as he had even said that things have changed in the last few years with Discmania. The people that were there back in the day just aren't there anymore, so the relationship has changed. I don't know what much more to say about that. I don't have Colton's viewpoint on it other than that, so I can only take his word for it, but we wish Colton the best. Hopefully, I'm not going to be shocked when I see Colton on the Innova team, not the champion team, but I wouldn't be shocked if somehow he kind of slides onto that second tier team, right where Kona is as well. I mean, that just kind of, it's got family, go from one family to another, right? Hannah Wynn signed a 1-year contract with Mellow Disc Golf, which is a company I'd never heard of. And I don't, everything I know of Hannah, mellow isn't the term I don't know if I'd use. She's a huge fan of we'll say heavy metal, death metal type music. So Mellow Disc Golf is very funny to me, hearing how she is sponsored by them. Macy Veladiaz signed an extension with Dynamic Discs. Nicholas Antala signed an extension. Didn't sign an extension. Just announced he is still with Discmania. He had signed a 4-year contract back in 2024. So really no news from Nicholas other than there was rumors. Bob Giulio went on the Ultra World podcast and talked about how Niklas would be a dream get for him. And I think that spun all these rumors that like Discraft is going after Niklas. It's not happening. Not until the contract is over. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Amanda Lennartsson announced a 1-year contract extension with Discmania. She was the Swedish FPO national champion. And as of today, Jakub Semerad announced a 1-year contract extension with Latitude. Braden Sides has a 1-year extension with Castaplast. Gavin Babcock signed a 2-year agreement with Discmania. And what's not on this list, which I'm at discgolffanatic.com, was Silas Schultz announcing via his socials that he is leaving Discmania. I have some guesses, and I'm going to say them right here because I don't know, so I don't mind guessing. I think he's going to Discraft. As of today, if you go to Team Discraft's website, you get a big, fat guest login. It used to have a list of all the players. My guess is that they're updating it. The fact that it was timed so significantly with Discraft's social media announcement about the 14 potential Tour Series discs and players that are going to be assigned to those discs. There's some openings. Silas then announces he's leaving, and Discmania's site goes down. I think we're going to see Silas at Discmania. I'm sorry, Discraft. Back it up, reverse it. If I said Discmania, I meant Discraft. Silas left Discmania. He'll be at Discraft. Well, that's my guess. That leaves open at least, I think, 2 spots for Discraft. I also I'm going to go on a wild guess in that they pick up a European. I know that's been a focus for them. They've discussed that. They picked up KJ Nybo as a team captain in Europe, so I would hope that he is doing his due diligence. There are some people out there that are free agents that we haven't heard from yet. We know that Lori Lettinen is a free agent. And is it Dennis Davidson? Is it Dennis Davidson? Daniel Davidson? Damn. Can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that. The chat will help me out here in a second. But Davison is also a free agent. And there's a lot of rumors that Discraft is going to pick him up, which I think is a good get. I don't believe it's anything earth-shattering. I don't think it's going to make a big splash. At least not here on this side of the Atlantic. Maybe it's a bigger deal over in Europe. But, I mean, I will be excited to see more players in Europe sponsored by Discraft in general, because that's a avenue that they were really looking at. So those are your announcements for sponsorships. Again, we haven't seen anything big. There's all sorts of rumors flying around about Gannon Burr. I think it's all poppycock, and we're not going to see Gannon move at all this year. Some of the bigger Discmania members, they announced their extensions, or not even extensions. Well, some of them are extensions, and some of them are just continuations, like Niklas, and we saw Gavin Babcock announce. Gannon signed. He's not going anywhere. I will put a healthy sum of money on that. But Gannon is also a troll. He is a social media troll. It wouldn't shock me to see him hint at a change and then have nothing happen. He's done this in the past. He might just be holding out whatever. And again, I don't know if he needs to announce anything because he's under contract. I mean, really, what's the deal? But I think everyone just expects announcements every year, like, hey, I'm still with this company. I don't see Paul Macbeth out there right now saying, hey guys, I'm still with Discraft. I mean, Discraft's going to make their announcement. Paul will be on that announcement. Yeah, he was in the social media thing. You could tell it was him. I don't know. Just we're still waiting to hear about Goose. We're waiting to hear about Ezra Aderhold, who I think is going to stay with Discraft, honestly. I think that's what we're going to see. And that's really about it. Gannon isn't going anywhere. So any rumors that are flying around that he might be leaving for Discraft or might be leaving for Innova or wherever anyone's saying he's leaving, I don't think it's happening. Don't think it's happening, folks. So don't hold your breath on that. I'm going to go over to the board here just a little bit and read what's going on. Someone says Smashbox is probably signing him. I don't, talking about Silas. I don't think Smashbox is signing Silas. I don't think we can afford that guy. He's too clever. He's got too much social media skills for us. But someone said on the board Silas could be going to MVP. You're right. He could be. Honestly, he very well could be. But I think Discraft is also going to make an effort. They signed Matt Schlabach. I think Discraft is starting to see that you want to sign players who are popular and have good social media presence, which Silas fits that bill. Not that MVP isn't looking at that too, because I think that's their play as well. They got Germ, they had Simon, they've got Silva Saarinen, and Silva's kind of non-existent on socials, but she is a very well-liked player. What else is on the board? Gannon needs to eat more butter and rotisserie chicken. I don't know about that. He's been working out. I saw Schlabach posted some socials about how, if you're not trying in the off season, then you're not preparing for the regular season. It was a whole motivational thing. I was laying on my couch eating cookies probably when I read that or when I saw it. So it didn't quite hit with me. But yeah, there was Gannon doing a bunch of workout stuff, getting ready for the current season. Yeah, we know that Terry doesn't have that big DGPT money. No, I mean, people took that so seriously the last couple of weeks ago. And I can honestly say behind the scenes, it wasn't that serious. We kind of knew. I thought I heard something along the lines of, or maybe it was Terry and I that were estimating that by not flying Terry out to Bend for the 7 to 8 events, they were saving like $25,000. Because you figure the plane ride, the car, if there was one, which not always, because I think sometimes DOS picked them up, the hotel, the food stipend that probably goes with that. I've never been on that commentary side, so I don't know exactly how all that works as far as stipends and bills and stuff. I don't know if every commentator does their own thing or if there's kind of I think it's more of a uniform in the last few years. But yeah, I mean that's if you can save yourself 20 to 25,000 or 30, whatever that number is, it makes a lot of sense to make the changes. But Jeff and Terry, I know even before Terry left, he had said that he had spoken with Jeff about just how things are going in general. It wasn't even him like begging to get back on the podcast or the broadcast or anything, but just wanted to make sure everybody was in alignment. And sounds like they are. So. Doc Zen says, we love Terry and won't apologize for flipping out. Yeah, well, that's fun. Before we wrap this up, it's 9:45 here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I want to give a little bit of an update to Skip Ace. And we're talking about technology. And I want to be the first to tell you that I definitely use AI a lot to do programming. It's been phenomenally helpful for a lot of what I do. I'm not going to be here and shy away from the fact that I am neck deep in whether it's Claude Code or Codex or sometimes just regular Chat GPT or Google Gemini. I use it all. It's as much as I can to help develop and create new features for Skip Ace. And some of the things over the last week or two that I've been working on, in fact, I think I kind of dropped, I think I pushed it out to production today, was we have introduced, I say we all the time, but it's just me. It's literally just me doing this. The royal we. I pushed out a couple things that people have been asking for. One, mock drafts. So as of right now, you can go and log into Skip Ace, and there should be a mock draft available that you can sign up for. They start every hour on the hour. And if it happens to fill before that hour, so let's say you sign up at 7:30 and it's not kicked off, it's not supposed to kick off till 8, but then all 8 people jump in. Because I think I have it dedicated to an 8-person draft, which I think is kind of average for most disc golf leagues. You're going to draft 7 MPO players and 4 FPO players, like 5 starters and this and that. But if it happens to fill up, it'll start sooner. If not, it just recycles and it starts on the hour. If it does not fill up, and let's say you only get 3 people in there, what I have programmed is it will create some bots or robots that will go in there and draft the other players. Probably based on, not probably, I know what it's based on. It will grab players based on their average draft position. So as to help not kind of mess with the draft positions of players. So let's just say in a couple weeks, Jaden Rye is the 12th most drafted player, and that's the next guy up on the board. He'll grab that before the 14th most drafted player, or maybe a player who has a higher rating than him. It's going to look at that. And then if there isn't a draft position, then it fails, or it's tied, it fails over to their rating or something like that. But so kind of cool. Something not everybody, a lot of people have been asking for are mock drafts. So I've got that going. That's pretty exciting. It's brand new as of today. I've mostly tested it out, but there's only so much testing I can do, even in my staging environment. I didn't test out all 8 users in there. There were some little quirks I figured out. So if there's weird little glitches, I'll find them and we'll fix them. But mock drafts, I really like that. I think that's kind of cool. So people can kind of do some practice drafting. I added sponsors to some of the players as we're in sponsor season right now. So if you do a search for Paul Macbeth or Paige Pierce or Calvin Heimberg, you should see their primary sponsor like Innova or Discraft. Those, I have most of the primary sponsors loaded up in there. I plan on trying to load as many as I can up once all the teams are announced. Like, for instance, I don't think I probably unlisted Colton Montgomery yet. It's a thing to keep up with because I've got future plans for just sponsors in general on the platform. Is Mega Millions a sponsor for me? No, Mega Millions is not. I should get a competing sponsor. It's going to be the Powerball versus Mega Millions. Mega Millions wants a sponsor. I'm here for it. I'm not that way. Powerball's great. I bought a Powerball ticket, but yeah. Doc Zen says, can we get a handicap this year where the worst placed finish gets some help from AI? I haven't invested in any AI for the actual site yet. I'd say it's not possibly coming. Might, but I haven't messed around with it yet. There's still a few things I want to do, but man, it is, for a guy who doesn't know a ton about coding, it is so helpful to be able to kind of just describe what you want done, answer a handful of questions, go in, figure out, have it build. It basically builds the platform for you, and then you go in and just alter it. Like, oh, I don't like this, or how come this is giving me an error, and it'll dig in deeper and say, oh yeah, I screwed up, or hey dummy, you didn't tell me all the right things. Kind of does those things for you. It is awesome. So if there's any features that you would like to see on Skip Ace, reach out, send me an email, hit me up on Facebook, tweet me, maybe find me on a Discord, however you want to reach out to me. I am there. I'm kind of all over. I'm a disc golf shadow on a lot of different places, so we can make all your fantasy dreams come true without winning the lottery. Doc Zen says, should I keep picking Brody for my roster? No. Will I? Probably not, as he's not going to be touring much or at all. He might hit a single event this year, but unless you're doing like fantasy 5Ks, which he seems to be doing, or fantasy marathons, then maybe you want to draft him. That's been his main push lately. I'm just finishing reading on the board. Can you pick Terry Miller? No. I mean, I think Terry's in the system. He might be. I could add him. I could add him and me, just if you want to draft us for fun. It definitely won't do you any good, but we could definitely add ourselves in there. Well, this has been Smashbox Podcast 590. I want to thank Sean Jack for jumping on the show and answering all your questions about Powerball. He has been on 2 or 3 different podcasts where they, kind of went through all the general sponsorship questions. And I felt like I was tried to ask some questions that weren't asked. Obviously, you have to hit on all the normal stuff. But one of the things I forgot to ask him was, and I don't know if he definitely couldn't answer this, but why do we think Powerball is starting to sponsor sporting events? I mean, we've got NASCAR, and that started 2 years ago. Now we've got Disc Golf Pro Tour. I have my theories. I think from the research that I've done, Powerball has dropped 5 to 6% of sales in the last year or two. And I think that is almost directly equatable with online sports betting. Our NXT, your DraftKings, your FanDuel. I have to assume there's only so much in everyone's budget for gambling, right? Or hopefully there's only so much that you can afford. Only gamble what you can afford. That's my financial advice to you. But I'm guessing that they need to start looking at advertising. I don't want to say they have a monopoly, because there is Megabucks and there's Powerball and there's probably a few smaller ones depending on what state you're in. But honestly, I think that sports betting is starting to maybe eat into their bottom line. And if you, I mean, I don't know what odds are better. If your odds are better at sports gambling, it feels like they might be, versus lottery. But yeah, if you want to hit the big lottery, I don't know I think the odds are like 1 in 20 to just hit the Powerball, or to get like $1 or something out of it. I don't know. I haven't looked at the back of a Powerball ticket in a long time. But I would be, we're never going to have that answer. They're not going to tell us. They're going to tell us all the things we want to hear about how disc golf is going to be a good fit, which I'm glad it is. If you're going to advertise, find a great fit like disc golf is. And we have a good community. We're a pretty easy company to sponsor at this point, as our budget or our ask rates aren't extremely high. But that's my guess as to why lately Powerball has been diving into more sports sponsorships. You always see the nightly news where they have the Powerball. It's like, hey, tonight it's up to 112 million. Go buy your tickets. But for them to start dipping into the sports world, I think it has to do with the prevalence of a lot of easy access via your smartphone to just gamble. Click, I can place a bet right now on something that's going to happen in 5 minutes. And Powerball's a little different. There's not the immediate dopamine rush. Powerball is more buy a ticket, have a dream. Man, if this hits, that'd be pretty great. I would do X, Y, and Z with it. Versus the online gambling where, is LeBron going to get more than 12 points tonight? Yes or no? And then you sit and watch. That's much more of a direct dopamine hit versus the Powerball. So that's just my speculation as to why Powerball is starting to dive into some of these other avenues. I could be 100% off base. I don't work for them. I don't know. But I'm glad that they're sponsoring. I'm glad they're sponsoring the tour. I'm glad that we're taking their money and we're going to put it towards infrastructure and events. I don't think you're going to see a huge significant jump in purses, but a lot of that is, we'll see if a lot of that is now coming from on-site ticket sales. If we can improve the infrastructure, hopefully we can bring in more people. But once again, this is podcast episode 590. I'm your host, John Van Derzen. We'll be back next Tuesday, as we always are, when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.